Some of the stereotypes I've heard about Zulu people is that you're kind of irrational, you know, and polygamous, and also hot-headed, as we say, you know what I'm saying? And I kind of feel like, you know, it's a very perspective of narrow-minded people, you know what I mean?
Some of the stereotypes that I've heard about petty men is that they're stingy as fuck. No, I can use that language. They're stingy. Like, it's a petty man will have money, bro. Would have like a whole 10K with them. They'll be like, babe, what's if I can shut that transport? You're visiting him. I tell you, babe, it's a nice That's time he's got a whole pack of money with him.
Well, you'll hear that vendors and Tsonga people are witches and wizards. They practice witchcraft.
Zulu people are angry. And you know, sometimes if you go to taxi ranks a lot, you'll believe that. Shem, I don't blame people for thinking that Zulu people are angry, because you'll just come and you'll be like, good morning, Yan. And you're like, okay, sorry.
They say the Xhosa girl will leave you with nothing, not even a pant. They'll take from the umdlwane to the curtain to everything and leave you with nothing.
My problems usually aren't with like the Zulu side of my family. It's always Xhosas. Apparently, Xhosa women are we're liars. Apparently, we're cheaters. We're like lots of very different, usually negative things.
I think when you talk about white people in South Africa, it gets a bit difficult in terms of stereotypes, because people differentiate between English white people and Afrikaans white people. And English white people, I haven't heard that many stereotypes, but Afrikaans white people, you hear a lot of stereotypes in terms of them being quite aggressive. They almost portrayed as non-accepting of a lot of things.
I can't stand that violence that people, like colored people, have got like over their name, you know what I mean? So yeah, for that's like the biggest thing for me.
Well, I mean, in terms of Indians in general, I don't think there's anything, but I mean, in terms of religion as Muslim, generally that we like terrorists and we like to bomb things.
Zulu people, violent for some reason, and they rude. Like from the bat, if you meet a Zulu person, you have to approach them with a certain mentality. Because of how people perceive other Zulu people in different sections, like at the taxi rank. So they have this assumption that Zulu people are very aggressive towards other cultures, and they don't want to learn about other cultures.
With Indian, there's so many Indian stereotypes. The same thing, like money. They like bargaining. They like negotiating for cheaper prices.
These stereotypes actually stem from a small group of people, and then they grow, and then they grow, and then if you like continue experiencing these people, you find that, okay, this one is actually not that bad, this one has a big dick or whatever. Like it's different. You can get those specific people there where you find that, oh, the stereotype totally applies to them, and then that's not everyone.
I feel like, as opposed to when we actually get to an institution of higher learning like a university, that's where you actually get to meet different diversified groups. So I feel like instead of like us chilling as Tswana people only, we need to like get involved with other cultural groups, you know, get to know how they live, why they actually do that, and why they actually conform to some of the stereotypes that they are known for.
Hey, welcome to Unfiltered Live, our weekly, fortnightly talk show. Today we've got our special guest Sunny Faba in studio to talk about cultural stereotypes. Do we conform to them? Do we try avoid them? Do we avoid people? So let's get into it. First of all, what are some of the cultural stereotypes that you know? Like not just with Xhosas or whatever, you can get into that too, but just any of them that you might have heard.
Well, firstly, I just want to say thanks for having me. Secondly, I feel like people went really hard on Xhosa people in the episode of Unfiltered that went live, but that's fine. We'll get to that. Some of the cultural stereotypes, obviously, Zulu people, hella aggressive and abusive, pretty much standard behavior.
So she reinforces.
Tswana people a bit selfish. Tsonga people deeply traditional, aka patriarchal, aka will put you down. What are the other ones? Indian people always looking for a bargain, not exactly the right way. Colored people are violent, don't get into a fight, they'll break a bottle. What are some of the other ones? That's pretty much what comes to the top of my head. That's really where I'm at. It's not that like I endorse them.
So actually, let's get into that. When you say all these stereotypes, are these ones that you believe in, or just ones you've heard?
So for me, a stereotype, like by definition, comes from somewhere. It's not something that comes out of nothing, right? So enough people have had to perpetuate this belief for it to become a stereotype that spreads across the whole nation, and for all of us to understand it. So whether it's true or not, there is enough people perpetuating it for it maybe to have some elements of truth.
I want to know, in your experience though, how much of these stereotypes have you experienced yourself?
Quite a few.
But let's be real though, they stem from a lot of truth, very often, you know, and that's why
also the whole thing of individuals are different, but overall, stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason.
Yeah. Because quite a large group of those people do that.
Yes.
Or, you know what I mean, or at least, or maybe that's the perception that they do that. With Xhosa women though, which is... I'm not saying that I endorse some of these stereotypes, but you know, having lived 5 years of my life in the Eastern Cape, at least I was exposed like firsthand in the Eastern Cape, and then obviously Cape Town as well, and then Joburg. One thing I can say is that they can be very abrasive, and I think so that, but like, then people get like sort of the wrong idea, you know. And I mean, I can't speak about the one that Xhosa girls are loose, or Xhosa girls are always like gold diggers. Those ones.
The guy said they'll leave you without even a pent. Without even a pen. No, I was like, he was so touched, guys. They left him without a pen. So
this is what I really want to unpack as to why, particularly the one about Xhosa women and promiscuity, and then obviously Xhosa men also, you know, also, why is that?
The first one you said is abrasive, right? And what I always find is that Xhosa women aren't necessarily abrasive or more loud than other people. It's actually just how we communicate, right? So I will go, for example, to like a Tsonga household where people tend to speak at a much softer octave. And then me, my sister, and our family, siyangola, si loud, you know, all of these things. And it's just like, actually, I was just saying, what's up? Like, we were genuinely just having a conversation. And what you interpret as abrasive is not necessarily, that's just how we talk.
That's true, because even like as a British South African, like,
my God.
when my mom addresses me sometimes, like, just saying something like, you know, please go get this. It's always, and I'm just like, it's a lot of aggression. Why? And she's Zulu, so it's not only Xhosa girls, it's just the Nguni way. It's like,
on
just
the
that's how
phone
it
even,
is.
my mother, I'm just like, so just because Lomdu it doesn't mean you actually have to shout.
Yeah.
You can actually just like talk where we're
And there's
at
not too
right
much
now.
of a please in their language. So even then it's like, get me this. It's still asking, but maybe there's not so much of a please in it, because please is like this, you know, more European, British, please, excuse me, sorry. They're always apologizing for shit.
We got a comment on our YouTube channel from Noxy Puff, and she was like, listen guys, the reality is that when you actually go to KZN, that is how people speak. So I think it definitely almost like confirms some of the things that's how people speak. So someone else comes to KZN, or KZN people come here and they continue speaking like that, then everyone is like, oh my God, these people are aggressive. So that one about aggression, that's the one I'm just like.
But now what about the Xhosa men or people? I guess I don't have too much
Xhosa
experience
men are
with
liars.
men, but liars and cheats.
That
one is here, Nance. Yo, from experience, from seeing. Guys, what the fuck is wrong with your men?
So, babes.
Even Xhosa girls don't want to. I mean, you dating what, a Zimbabwean, I think?
Yes.
Why not?
Hey, baby.
Okay.
How you doing?
Why not Ukangata or Kaya or, you know?
Why you got a name?
Those are the names I know. Not them specifically.
I mean, just in case you tried to deny it, I was on a holiday with you in East London a couple of years ago, and you were just like, you know what? Me and Xhosa man, done. And I thought maybe that's just like a culture, particularly of East London.
Apparently in the mountains, and this is also going to be so controversial. Please, guys, it's just like an opinion, hee ha ha. But they learn this thing there. Like, they are taught there.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, right? I dated a boy, and we were high school lovers, absolute sweethearts, 18 years old, just like, you know, everything the fairy tales are made out of. Went to the mountain, came back. Was a completely different person. Had to break up, like he was just hella patriarchal, hella like hard and aggressive and all of these things. So maybe that is part of it, right?
Maybe sweetness is in the foreskin.
Maybe. But for me is that, so my thing is that I love Xhosa men. I absolutely love them. There's no one I find more funny, entertaining, charming. I thrive around them. I want to be around them all the time. But like every other traditional group will tell you that they have got very negative experiences with Xhosa men. And maybe that's something because maybe the women, maybe that's why the Xhosa women are the way they are.
Maybe that's why they're so angry.
I'm just like, because like if we all have to live like right, and depend on each other, is that then I am going to take you for everything that you are worth. If you proceed to treat me like I am worth nothing, you know what I mean? And he is going to go around and, you know, eat everything he can because he can.
But for me, what's ironic though, what I at least I've got from that experience, particularly in East London, like all the Xhosa girls that I interacted with were like, I'm almost definitely gonna marry a Xhosa man.
100%.
So that like it's the vibe. So like, okay, you know what? Before, when you still went through your whole phase, you're gonna do everything,
your whole phase, though?
everything. Or when you still just checking out your sexual, whatever you want to call it. Liberation, there we go. But they all like insist that they're gonna marry a Xhosa man, and for me that makes complete sense. Like I see it, and it makes sense.
I guess
and it makes sense even.
It's also that thing of like, but people from home understand you best. Like
100%.
You don't have to explain.
There's things about a Xhosa man that like you just never have to explain. There's things that they get. They come from a Xhosa mother. They have a Xhosa father from a Xhosa home, and there's things that they just get. So when you're whiling out and you're talking loud, they're just like, no, we're Loana, and
exactly.
You know what I mean? And also you understand what you need to do when you go home to Ilali Zake and all of that stuff.
That's my little nightmare.
There's like a really great, and it's because the culture is so like embedded, and that's why we all migrate to the Eastern Cape. As soon as December 16 happens, you won't catch us in Joburg or Cape Town. We all go back to the Eastern Cape because there's something about it. So you find yourself like, I know they trash, but like I'm gonna end up marrying.
But it's my trash.
It's my trash. You know what I mean? And I know how to deal with my trash.
There's one stereotype though, which I like. It fascinates me because when you go to KZN, right, and the surroundings, like you go to taxi ranks and everything, and it's chilled. I've never had a single bad experience or someone threatening to beat me or the people I'm around. And then you come to Joburg, and then obviously it's like the Zulu taxi drivers and the Zulu taxi marshals or whatever. Then even they themselves, they are they're definitely very aggressive and all of those things that then reinforce that stereotype about Zulu people. So that's one thing for me that I find like fascinating because you don't see it in KZN.
No, that's
not
true. That's not true.
I don't think you've ever taken a taxi in KZN.
I'm not talking about taxis specifically. I'm talking. Right. Are we only going to speak about Zulu marshals?
That's
what about Zulu people.
Okay, Zulu people.
So for me, I've had mad aggression in KZN, but I think it's also a thing of like maybe not being fluent. So like when you go to Durban, for instance, and it happened in the ice cream parlor. There I am, like living my best life, trying to get my vanilla swirl on, and then this lady's like, "Sawana sisi." I'm like, "Hi, can I please have a?" And she's like, "You test sound, and then like doing with the gold and whatever." And I was like, no, it's cool. You can continue talking how you're talking and what you're talking, and let me continue also. But we're not, there was like a stalemate. She was not going to continue until I responded in Zulu, which I know she knows English because the person before me was white. So that kind of like black on black aggression, that was like so unnecessary. But I've experienced it a lot of times being in KZN. Whereas in other towns, like in Venda or Limpopo, let me say, Polokwane, even the Eastern Cape, if I come and I'm like greeting somebody in English or another language that's not of that place, I don't get such aggression back as with KZN.
I don't know. I'm gonna disagree because I find that
Mthatha, everyone was like, hey, trying their best, like, hello, girl, whatever, and like doing English right, and they were so excited by just being able to live and whatever. But in Durban or with Zulu people, even in Joburg, it's crazy.
So my experience is that actually they prefer if you can't speak Zulu. Obviously, if you can speak Vernac, that's great. But then don't shank the Zulu. I think that's a big thing with
but I've never shanked somebody's language to be like English.
But like Zulu people also just like the aggression stems so much from what historically they've been through and all of that stuff, right? In their whole culture. So we get it, you're Zulu. You live in a place called KwaZulu, so now we must all come there and speak Zulu. Sure, we get it, but also relax. Like, relax a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And then they get angry, and then tribalism comes out, and you want to be like, fam, we're all black, don't do that. Do you know what I mean? And it's all just too much.
Definitely, I think that the history has a big part to play in it, in the sense that, the way Zulu people will look at it, be like, Soshangani, but you know, Babalega, Babalega, they chased away Xhosa, they chased away all of these people. They started their own, you know, what they would then call like subcultures. I mean, but it's definitely different culture now.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, but all of them are cowards. All of them ran away. So obviously, you know that thing, generation on generation.
Let's speak about something positive. What are some positive stereotypes we've heard? A little bit. I heard Bender guys have big dicks. And to be fair, from one experience, it was, a week of sitting on the... So I heard it a little bit.
So I want to tell you about the fact that I really do believe that the closer you get to the Limpopo River, the closer you get to the border there, the bigger they get. The bigger they get.
You're just talking about your own boyfriend right now.
No, not even.
Now we are going to
not even. I am definitely. I will attest to this. The closer you get, and the further north of Africa you get, the bigger the dick size gets. And I just want to say to y'all niggas,
I'm definitely. I cannot comment on this.
I've had one right
now.
Though,
yeah,
because the smallest and the biggest,
so we're working with extremes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's just like, but I thought, and then it's not, and then you're saying.
Another positive one that I've heard of is that petty men, particularly, are really, really smart and sweet, but apparently stingy. But apparently stingy.
They'll call you to their house and then ask you for money.
So my thing is, I can completely understand that, right? Because if you look at Limpopo basically grew itself out of nothing. Like the amount of entrepreneurs, the amount of academics and people that are just doing it and killing it, that are coming from that province, which is heavily petty. It's just like, they're just like sharp. White people don't want us. Sharp. Nguni people are off fighting with each other in taxi battles, etc. Sharp. What we're going to do is we're going to take over business and enterprise and all of that stuff, and they've done it, which is absolutely amazing. So if you have a petty guy in your team, you know that like some shit is going to get done.
Shout out to Skipper.
And that's absolutely... Exactly, that entrepreneurial spirit, because you come from a land that is not exactly like willing to give you everything like all the other provinces did.
I feel like English white people are also like the petty people of white people.
In terms of being stingy.
In terms of being like passive aggressive, stingy, like nothing that like English white people say is how they feel. Like they just will not be like, you know what, I don't like you.
100%.
Whereas Afrikaans white people might be like the Zulu people of whites, where they'll just be like, I don't like you. This is not my vibe. Like you don't belong. Blah blah blah. And that's it. And I kind of feel like I prefer the more abrasive, obvious hate than the use my fork and knife and then throw the utensils away.
I agree with that, like 100%, because white people also are so...
And the smile.
Are so amazing. You have to learn how to speak their language. And I always, and it comes from being at school with white people,
and
having white friends, growing up. It's always, you're always dealing with subtext. You're never dealing with what is being said. And it always breaks my heart if I see like a black person who doesn't speak white, who doesn't understand that subtext, that we're having a whole nother conversation that you're not privy to because you didn't go to school with these people. And that like, honey, she doesn't like anything she just said about what she likes. Like this is, all she's done now is put you down in front of all of us
with a smile.
With a complete smile.
I mean, for me, it's not necessarily like a preference that I prefer Afrikaans white people over English speaking white people, but from my from my experience though is that like you said, like if like an Afrikaans guy or an Afrikaans family vibes with you, they vibe with you 100%, and they if they don't vibe with you, it's not because, and obviously because of our past, we assume. I mean, I was like growing up, I was like taught to be like, not necessarily taught like yo Obasabi, but it was more like from everything else that you experience, you know, around you, and like so you learn that I must be scared of these people. Yeah. And then you get exposed to them and you're like, shit, consistently all of my white, my Afrikaans white friends are legit homies. Like they're legit. So they vibe with you 100%. And I think in a lot of ways, the Afrikaans culture is very similar to a lot of our black cultures. And that's why when you get along with them, you get along famously. And then like the white folk, it's just like that whole... Yo, man, just tell me what's up. Like, if you're not vibing with me, just tell me what's up. There's no need to pretend, you know? And
white people are generally the worst.
I don't endorse.
But you asked what positive things, and I'll tell you a positive stereotype, what I've experienced, and also what you see. Colored people for all the shit people say about colored people are behind other colored people. If there is a colored person in senior management, other colored people are going to start penetrating that company. If there is a colored person on a reality show and they're singing for their lives or dancing, that colored community is going to support and vote for that colored person. They've managed to get that right, which we in the black community lack and struggle with a lot because of our own infighting. Colored people are just like, sharp. If that's a colored guy, I'm going to rally behind him. Right, wrong, whatever it is. And for me, that's fucking awesome.
But then also that perception that they're violent, I just think is completely misconstrued, and it's just also perpetuated by non-colored people per se. It's like almost like you're looking out, looking in, and you're just like, I mean, looking in from outside, and it's like this. Everyone just thinks that colored people are violent, and I think
it's the same thing. It's the way they speak. Like if you're speaking, English or whatever it is, like it's just the way
it's not even the way they speak.
I feel like that's some of it. Like obviously there's the gangsterism perception and all that stuff, which the news will always bring in, and then that's all you see. But I'm talking about even with the same thing we're talking about with Xhosa women. When they're speaking, they're just excited about something, but it sounds more aggressive because in other cultures people talk, maybe softer or whatever it is. So I think it's that thing as well.
But like colored people the colored stereotype of violence comes from ghetto colored people, right? People that have grown up in whatever the township version of colored was. Now you've got colored people that are upwardly mobile that are living in the burbs and shit, right? Those colored people have the exact same perception about other colored people. Other bougie coloreds.
That's more of a classist vibe. As opposed to saying,
so what is the stereotype? What is the stereotype?
Because even black
born
people
from?
will have that though. Like,
do you know what I mean?
Drive to the hood because
but that's not, I don't think that's like I think for me that's more like a classist thing. Because like even if you take the example of the Cape Town, there's even like there's levels to this colored thing. Like you get Cape Malays, and with the straight hair, and they're meant to be beautiful, and and all that vibe. And then you've got like the other colored people from other areas who I mean they call them bushies, which is terrible because obviously it's the perception that they have like curlier hair and wider cheekbones, so more resembling black people. And from obviously back in the day, that was a very bad thing. So that whole thing.
I'm not saying we should believe stereotypes, but if a colored girl comes to me and says like, I'm gonna fuck you up, I believe her. I fucking believe her.
I believe a black girl disrespect me. I'm like, cool.
And I'm like, sharp, I've got you.
Colored girl's like, you stood on me.
Colored girl clocks me.
Wait, I wipe your shoe. I'm so sorry.
Yazin, I'm just like, Yazin is
mailing them
tomorrow.
White girl, black girl, I can take you. Colored girl, I'm like, no, please, how do we work this out? Like, I'll buy you and your friends a bottle.
There's one that proper like creates my tits. Is like this one of that Tsonga people and Venda people are unattractive. That one, probably if there's one stereotype, oh my god, like the jokes about Limpopo and all
for
of
me,
that.
that's a witchcraft, a lot of witchcraft.
What? Even the witchcraft one. For me that still comes second to the one being about unattractive, and
why? But like let's
no. I mean, I'm not sad about it, and if anything, I'm always just like, yo, what's up? My paternal grandmother is Tsonga, and I'm like hella proud of it, and they're just like, oh, but you like good looking, or they'll be like, oh, but you are
do
like.
People call you good looking, man.
I mean, they'll say for a Tsonga guy.
This whole segment
for
is about how good looking
guy.
Wow.
And I'll be like, yo, but. Everyone in my family is good looking though.
But I just think that's just like colonization.
And then the whole complexion thing.
Because their complexion is darker, so they must be uglier. Their noses are broader because of wherever we're placed on the continent and all of that stuff. Like that's literally colonization. And if a black person says that, I'm just like, you're embarrassing us. Shh. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they like bright colors. Bitch, who doesn't? Like, why wouldn't you like bright colors? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I just don't get that whole thing. For me, it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? To be against.
Although the witchcraft one, there's an element of truth in it.
I got it.
Because
we went
to Limpopo and there was like an SAP van and it was an anti-witchcraft unit. So you think I'm making that ish up? Hit up my homies that we went to Limpopo with.
But then they're also perpetuating that stereotype if you're gonna have things like that. Like,
but you need it.
There was enough of them,
but you need
for
it.
them to be a stereotype.
We need the Popo to investigate this thing. Why? Because I don't want to get struck by lightning just for talking smack about you or for not giving you a promotion.
And fam,
I don't know how they're
but
gonna
they sell it in
combat
cans.
witchcraft.
Also, you know they sell it in cans.
No,
I'm saying
let's
that's what I heard. Oh, that's what I heard. You can buy it in a can.
Guys, in terms of the stereotypes about your individual cultures, do you think you perpetuate them, or do you think you're doing not even on purpose, but like doing the opposite of what it is? So, are you aggressive? Are you a hoe? Are you, are you?
So, of the things like about Xhosa women, I am very much loud, very opinionated. You cannot keep me quiet. All of those things.
True.
But I'm also highly successful, make my own money, so I don't really need yours. So me to be like, like expunging off you is not necessarily on my to-do list. Of being a hoe, I just feel like because you are loud, you probably are more loud about your hoism. Right? So those things, so that's why Xhosa women are hoes. Whereas if a baby woman
are loud, like
if you're loud, right?
Oh,
so which means I'm loud about my hoism, right? But if I am from a softer culture, right, that is not as loud, but still doing my hoism, I'm obviously not going to be loud about my hoism. So maybe Xhosa women were just the first to say Nyaithanda, guys, and that's fine. Do you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Xhosa women.
And maybe that's where that comes from. And if sexual liberation is, the cross I'm going to have to bear, then I'm going to do that for my people because I'm a martyr at the end of the day.
For the dick. Carry the cross for the dick. And Mangi, your stereotypes other than being attractive?
I mean, chill, son. From my Zulu heritage, I don't think I'm aggressive. Def's not. But I can be abrasive, sure, and I'm bloody stubborn. So listen, I admit it, I'm bloody stubborn. But if you can show me another way and convince me, I'm down with your way.
But also we have to
the
come
issue is that we must now come and convince you. Like we're now
show you how you are
not of my Tonga's heritage, I think Tonga people, at least the ones that I've grown up with, they're super smart. So I reinforced that one.
Well, with my British heritage, I think I'm very... British heritage. I don't have much of the British heritage.
The Zulu one, being loud,
I'm not Zulu though, like my
your
mom.
mom
But she's also not... Her mom is Zulu. She's actually... Her dad is Tswana, but she grew up in KZN. But if we're gonna do that, then borderal, culture or whatever. I guess then I'm Zulu. Yes, I'm fucking loud. I'm also opinionated. I'm also stubborn. I'm also smart. See, the thing with me and Zulu women sometimes is that they also really like that whole tradition thing, which I'm the opposite. So that one I know I debunk as fuck because I'm not going to serve you food. And if I am, it's by choice. Don't come with Obama tendencies to me because I'll snap real quick. And then with the Tswana one, I think I've heard Tswana people are subservient in a way, and I know that's not me, passive. So it's passive and all those things, no. But I've also heard they're super smart and also independent. We've got our own little kingdom there in the northwest, did our own thing.
And attractive.
And that one
so that came out a lot. Especially from Tswana men who were just
I'm sure Xhosa women also came out a lot as being quite attractive. I hear that all the time.
That one I definitely subscribe to. Also, by the way, can we just talk quickly about how we rocked the same braids, same lipstick, same key?
Show my Josie. If you're watching this, shout out to you, girl.
Shout out to you for doing.
No, let's keep it moving.
Also, let me not even because I really love Show my Josie, but
I just don't know if I got my whole style from
her.
I'm just saying.
But Show my Josie.
Anyway, so thank you for joining us, Sunny.
It's an absolute pleasure, you guys.
You definitely had that whole, border, a nice perspective on cultural stereotypes, but also in terms of where we are on the map, and quite insightful things like that. So I really enjoyed talking to you, Mangi, as always.
Thank you.
Great co-host, hee hee ha ha. And that's it from us. So
thanks
we'll
for
see you
having
next time
me,
with our next topic.
Oh, shout out to you, man.
And shout out to your work.
Shout out to Xhosa Girl, man. They fly.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And you know what? Also shout out to Xhosa men. They hold us down when they need to. Sometimes.
They're really high. Except for Skin. Everyone else is high.
They cheat. He cheats.